Hello.
Hello, welcome back to Aether. And this is Satomi and Paul from sakaso.ca. So today we are doing the second part of the
Had enough of bullying, right? So it's
relationship.
exactly. So it's about, this time, last week was all about not taking it personally, and this week is all about healthy boundaries.
Yeah, healthy boundary. It's not even just bullying situation, right? We all need healthy boundary with each other, everybody.
I mean, it's a part of inherent part of relationship that it has to be built on respect, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what it really comes down to is that there's respect. I mean, you don't have to necessarily have a loving relationship because it could be very casual or just an acquaintance, whatever like that. But at least that's respectful, right? Whatever it is.
Yeah, because you're not depending on the other person too much or letting them depend on you on those. It might not be a bullying situation, but still.
That's codependency, right? Yeah.
Healthy boundary, right? That's all. Healthy boundary is a key for good relationship. Right? We're focusing on bullying situation, like we talked about last week. Bullying, it's not like the bullying, the image that we have. It happens
like in high school, right? The mean girls, or I guess more in middle school. I think that's the way I picture it anyway, with the boys. Right?
Yeah,
the more physical bullying with boys. You see it in movies and stuff like that,
so
right?
It's not just that, right? That even in adult situation and
very much
work situation, emotional, mental bullying, it's happening everywhere. We want to just talk about that, cover that, and how we can stop it, if we can stop it.
If we can, So as always, you're absolutely welcome to send in your questions and comments. We'd love to hear from you on the show here, and we'd love to make it part of the conversation. It's great when people chip in here. So the first thing is to recognize it for what it is, right?
Yeah.
So
because lots of people not realizing that they are bullying or they are getting bullied. They think it's normal, or they think, like a last week topic, take it personally, it's my fault, right? So I get bullied because I'm this, I'm that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that we tend to think that we deserve it for some reason. We tend to think that it's our fault, and that's what bullies are so good at. They're so good at making you think it's your fault, right? Because there's right away there's a tendency for us to first blame ourselves and be hard on ourselves, right? And there's other people who can manipulate that, right? So and I can speak from deep personal experience on this. I grew up in that kind of environment. I thought that was normal. I thought it was normal to be on the receiving end of being blamed for the situation, for being labeled as the one who is crazy, right? Wrong, whatever the case may be. I actually didn't know a really different way.
Yeah.
I didn't know. That's why we want to be able to recognize it for what it is in the first place, right? When people are being accusatory, aggressive, they're aggressively convincing you, might be a way of saying it, right? I mean, there's always conversation and there's discussion, right? And there's different points of view and all that kind of stuff. That's one thing. But when someone's there's a line that gets crossed between having different points of view and talking about it, and maybe even getting into a debate about it. That's all. That's fine.
Yeah.
But when it crosses a line of disrespect, right, where the other person begins to interrupt. We talked a little bit about this last week, where they cut in and they don't listen to what you're saying. They're simply trying to force their opinion on you, and for some reason, whatever the case, whatever the reasons are, right? So there's been so much of that that's happened lately, especially with the world situation being what it is. It's kind of taken on a new energy of this stuff, of this bullying, of people trying to tell you this is how it is, and if you think otherwise, then you're crazy. You're out there. But it's always been there, and it's always part of a relationship. It's always been there as a thing that people want to be aware of and want to be able to work with and be able to improve it and escape it if they're being subjected to it, right? Because if you feel bad, right, after that interaction, if you feel bad about yourself, and you're blaming yourself, but if you really think it through, it's not, you can't really come up with a really solid reason other than what the other person provided about why you were so off, why that you were responsible for them getting mad, right? If you're getting those kind of, if you're thinking it through what happened afterwards, and that's all you can come up with, the other person, well, I should feel bad because, first of all, actually, that's bad. We don't ever need to feel bad about ourselves, right? Even if we did make a mistake, it's a mistake. We're humans. We learn, right, by making mistakes. There's nothing to be gained by feeling bad about yourself. So if someone is giving you the impression that you should feel bad about yourself, right away, massive red flag, right? This is a big red flag. So this is an indicator that this relationship is not healthy, right? Or maybe it was, and it's taken an unhealthy turn. Right? There could have been a shift, because that's what's happened in the world lately, is that we used to have a lot of relationships, friendships, work relationships, family, everything, our partners, whatever, that we used to have those relationships and they seemed solid. But then this whole big thing came in, this whole health crisis, and it's divided people that weren't divided before. It's not the only thing, like we're saying, it's just something new that's come along, and it's revealed that relationships weren't what we thought. They were generally seen pretty healthy before, but then all of a sudden they turned not. So that's another thing to be aware of, is that it could have been a good relationship before, but maybe it might not be anymore, right? And sure, absolutely, there's things to do to try to put it back on course. But if that does not, if you play your cards out and it goes nowhere, it's not worthwhile for you to stay in a situation that's abusive, that's unhealthy, right? It's only worthwhile to keep a healthy relationship, and that's what you have to draw your line. You have to be able to draw a line and say to yourself that you deserve healthy relationships. You deserve loving relationships. You deserve respect. So you have to be able to respect yourself enough to be honest about your relationships, about whether or not they are respectful. The relationships are respectful, right?
So you kind of loosen me here.
Okay.
So we're so recognizing it for what it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right now.
Right now, you're talking about that.
Yeah.
So you lost me.
Okay.
So you're still talking about.
I'm talking about that because it's not easy. That I've spent so many years, so much of my life, I spent thinking that relationships were normal when they were actually abusive. Right?
So
that's what I was hoping to bring to people's attention.
So people think it's normal. That's why it's hard to.
Yes.
That I was there with you when you're talking about that.
Okay, so where did I go?
I don't know. I just went, where is he going? And I just got lost. But so yes, I agree. People think it's normal, right? It's normal, and then blame themselves lots of times, right? That's my fault. Oh, and you should feel bad. You were saying that, yes, and I should feel bad, but feeling bad doesn't help the situation. Doesn't undo whatever happened, right? And then it
doesn't actually avoid it in the future.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually make anything better for the person who is angry at you, right? It's not a way of making it better to make yourself feel bad, right?
So we're not saying like forget everything. You didn't do anything wrong. It's nobody's fault, and just keep going and do whatever. It's not that, right? If something happened, let's say you broke plate, right? You dropped it and you broke a plate. And then if somebody's saying you should feel bad, just that's not the point. The point is off, right? You should be more careful. That's the point, right? Okay, I'll be more careful next time.
More aware, more careful.
More careful next time. I'm not going to run while I'm carrying plates. Those kind of thing, right? Being more careful, and then you are changing something. But feel bad doesn't. You are just disempowering yourself. I'm bad.
You're just beating yourself up.
Yeah. And then it doesn't help the situation, right? And if somebody telling you to feel bad, that's they're off. Yeah. So so yeah.
And then another side of it is that so it's not normal for people to push you around. Right. It's not a normal way to live your life to be in the receiving end of that stuff.
Yeah. So if somebody's pushing you around, it's not normal. That's the balance is off. Right. That's a sign of bullying.
Yeah. And here's the big deal, right? Bullies often think that what they're doing is right. It's appropriate. It's necessary. And they justify it by saying the other person made it necessary. So you're the reason why I am being so aggressive and I'm angry. It's your fault that I'm angry. It's your fault that I have to push my point across like this. It's unpleasant for both of us. And I wish I didn't have to do it, but you made it necessary because of whatever, right? That's a bully.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. And then I had something, but I lost it. So it's what often think they are right. Right?
Yeah.
And then what was it? Keep going. I lost it.
Okay. So I was just saying that they come up with this justification.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're always justifying. Their bullies are aware of the fact.
Oh yeah, they not pretending. They say that they have to fix the situation because of you.
Yeah.
You are making a mess, or you are breaking this. You are destroying whatever, and you're not good at this, and you are creating more problems. So I have to fix you. I have to teach you. I have to do this, do that, right? That's one way of bullying. They make it sound like they are doing their job for you, but are they?
Yeah. No, really they're not. That's the thing. They are trying to make the world the way that they're comfortable with the world being, right? So they're trying to force their way on everybody.
Yeah.
That's what it really comes down to. And and the only reason they're doing that is because they're afraid of something. What are they afraid of? They're afraid of losing control. They're afraid of things being unsafe. They're afraid of, there's a whole laundry list of whatever they could imagine is at risk. And because of their being afraid, that justifies them being angry and taking whatever action they think is necessary, fixing you, right?
Yeah.
So they think that they're being the hero, and they're doing what a hero has to do, which is take action, even if it's hard. That's the way they see it, but it's a very diluted way of doing things because they're not in any way respecting the other person.
Yeah, and they're not acting out of love. They're acting out of fear.
Acting out of fear. Yeah. That's what it comes down to. It's the way to tell between someone who's being taken on the hero role in a healthy way by taking action where it's necessary, right? That's the hero's job, is when they're acting out of love, right? When they're acting out of fear, then they're actually creating nothing but pain for everybody, for themselves and everybody else. Yeah.
And then people might be having questions, how can you tell they're acting out of love or they're acting out of fear? You can tell. if
they're angry, then they're definitely acting out of fear.
But
if they're angry,
lots of people might not experience having people around that acting out of love. That's the sad part.
Yes.
But lots of people, so many people, way too many people they're trying to show love, right? They claim that they are loving, caring people, but actually they're acting out of fear. And so if those are not the people who are acting out of love. So if you feel like you can't tell the difference, maybe you haven't had anyone who are acting out of love always.
Yeah, that's really hard. So hard.
If you have that person, you can tell right away, right?
If you have a person who acts out of love, and then you see people who are not, then you can tell the difference. Yes,
you can tell right away.
Yeah.
You don't have to question it.
Yeah.
Like that. But if you're questioning, probably because they're all acting out of fear.
Yeah. Well, the people who are close to us, they pretty much always say that they're doing it because they love you, because they care about you, right? And they're concerned for you, right?
But the concern is coming from fear.
If they are angry, that's not what's really motivating them. Yes, they have a connection to you, and they like that connection. But it's if they are angry with you, they're expressing an unhealthy relationship, no matter what, right? And that connection that they have to you, and you value it too. That's why you're there hanging around with them. That connection may be worth saving. It's to be determined in the situation. It's all situationally dependent, but and it's worth giving this a try. What we're going to go through today, and over the next series that we're going through here today, in this next few weeks here about bullying, we're going to be advocating that you give it a good shot, right? Give it what you can in order to bring the relationship back onto track to being healthy, but. You'll see that it's not always successful, and you have to be prepared for that. That's what we were saying earlier. Just those bullies, they're very good at making you think it's your fault, and it's bull. It's just absolutely bull, right? It's them being angry is their own choice. 100%. There are no exceptions. There is never an exception for someone ever being angry that it's somebody else's fault. So that anger is a big red flag saying they're coming from fear. So that's where the situation is, and you got to be realistic about it.
And then so them being angry, and then lots of times, especially kids, and I made my mom mad. It's my fault.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very natural.
Programs. You programming in your subconscious mind, and then you keep that programming, and then you carry it around. When somebody's mad, then oh, it's my fault. Automatically you receive that way, right? But no, we have to reprogram it, and it's not your fault. Something happened and you made mistake. Okay, take responsibility for that, but you don't need to take responsibility for other people getting mad. Right? It's not like lots of people, lots of parents. I'm just going to pick on parents. Like say, stop doing that. Your dad's going to get mad. That's you are programming fear into kids. No, if I don't know, like a paint, writing something on the wall with a Sharpie or something.
Yeah.
Stop doing that. I'm going to tell your dad. You are just programming your kids act on fear, right? If you are scared of your dad getting mad, stop doing it. No, that's not the reason you want kids to write on the wall, right? It's because we want to keep the if you want to keep the wall nice and clean, then tell him that reason. We don't want drawing on the wall. Let's paint on the draw on the paper, right? That's the reason, not the reason. Dad getting mad isn't the reason, right? And then like a put seatbelt on, otherwise we get caught, right? That's not the reason you wear a seatbelt, right? And but there are people programmed get caught by police. We're gonna get tickets. No, that's not the reason you're wearing a seatbelt for safety, right? So you don't get injury or you don't die, right? That's the reason. But I've heard so many you have to wear a seatbelt, otherwise we're gonna get tickets. It's you are programming your kids and act out of fear. That's right. You've heard those things, right? All the time, and no, and then you are programming people, little people. You have to act out of fear. This is a fear. If you don't do it, you're gonna this bad thing's gonna happen.
And that translates directly into adult relationship, right?
And then because they carry it over, right?
We one way or another, we basically pretty much all get trained to avoid problems based on fear, right? And that's just not healthy for things in general. So definitely something to be avoided. So and this is the thing that can come up too, right? When the bullies are insisting that it's your fault, and then they're saying your way of looking at things doesn't add up, right? And then they're saying they have it very good at making you feel like you're crazy, right? So or
if they sense that they are losing the argument.
Yes, I've seen that happen. When you do land a really good point, right? And you hit it right on, you call it out, and you hit it right on the money, they can jump to that and say, no, you're crazy, right? So that's actually a weird sign of making progress. You'll see why if we keep going with the episode here. But that's what happens. And it's also gaslighting. We'll talk more about that in the next episode.
Okay.
So people making you feel like you're the crazy one, that is gaslighting, and it's abuse. And we'll get into more of that next session. But and don't take it personally. That was last week, right? If they are misbehaving and they're putting it out there, right? All that stuff, their feelings about you and all that kind of thing. If they're telling you that they're the reason why they're angry, if that's what's going on, that they're trying to get you to take it personally.
Because I love you.
Yes,
kind
yeah,
of thing.
yeah.
Right.
That's
one.
they want you to take it personally.
Yeah.
They're manipulating, and they're wanting you to accept that responsibility, and it's not yours. How they act, how they choose to act, if they're doing it because of their care, because of whatever, that's fine. But as soon as they are angry and telling you you're crazy and you're wrong, and they're not just saying it in a nice way, they're doing it, insisting on it, and they're not listening to you, and they're all that kind of heavy duty kind of interaction, that is inappropriate, and you don't need to take it personally. It's not your fault that they're doing that. That's them choosing. It's their choice, right? And sure, they're emotional. Sure, they're going to feel like maybe there's something lost because you're on two sides of a way of looking at things, right? If you're on the other side of a way of looking at things, maybe your worldview has evolved and theirs hasn't, right? And maybe that it's going to end up creating more separation between you. That's the natural way things work, and you have to be able to make the hard choices to go with it. It's not them calling it out as you being crazy and stuff like that, or you making them angry. That's all them choosing, and it's not your issue.
Because crazy, like, what's the definition of crazy? Like, everybody is, let's face it, everybody is different. And that's the beautiful thing. No human being is the same. We are not robots, right? So we are different, and we have different point of view, different feelings, different thoughts. And then just because we have different way of looking at things, and then they call it crazy, different, just because we feel differently, right? And they call you crazy. It's not.
That's disrespectful, right? It's very disrespectful to say somebody else is crazy.
Yeah, excuse, or it's just them running away, not facing. They don't want to face it. They just don't want to deal with it. They cannot win the fight. They cannot. All those things, and so many things they can't do, and so I'm just going to use this word. You're crazy, right? Does that make sense?
Oh, it does completely. Yeah, whenever they don't feel like they can win by their typical manipulation, they will call you crazy. That's what happens. It's pretty much a given, and that's why we're saying it's actually progress. I'll take this banner down for a second because we're kind of focusing on this right now, and that's cool. And that's it's progress because you're not playing by the same old rules, right? You are not accepting responsibility for their behavior, which is what they would like you to do. You're not coming over to their side by force, which is what they would like you to do. So that's real progress for somebody who has been challenged by those things. If you used to be giving in and going along and letting the other person have their way, those are very unhealthy. Believe me. Oh my God, that is so unhealthy to allow that to happen.
Situation.
It's allowing abuse, right? And so if you're at that point where they're calling you crazy, then it is actually a really big progressive step for you. It is not for the relationship necessarily, but you got to make a choice between what's important, the relationship or your health, your own sense of
your mental health, physical health, emotional health,
your happiness, right? Your prospects for a better future in life, right? All those things. If you stay with that, allowing that bullying, then all of that goes away. your prospects for a better future, your happiness, your health, sanity, your real sanity can go out the window, right? So that's why you want to make that stand, and that's why them calling you crazy is progress. So this is where you want to be when you're actually going to establish a boundary. Is you want to be able to let go of the need to make a point. There's 3 different levels here to let go of. One is the need to make a point, because that's not really important in the end. 2, coming to some kind of agreeable resolution in the conversation, right? If that's your goal, to only come up to the point of being in agreement and back to good, back to the way things were, and relating and all that kind of stuff. If that is your goal, then, and they are bullying, you're guaranteeing yourself for more abuse, right? So that cannot be it cannot be your goal to have an agreeable resolution. It may end up that this conversation, you end up on 2 sides of a fence that are not resolved.
To disagree.
Yeah,
right?
It can come to that. It come to agree to disagree, and that's fine too. That's healthy. That happens, and that's great if you can get it to there, right? But it can also be very, very raw at the end, right? And that is also okay. That is also an acceptable progressive position to get to if you've been subject to bullying. And then the third thing you have to be able to ready to let go of is the relationship itself. You can't face bullying and have your goal to keep the relationship, because they will manipulate that. You will be manipulated.
They will take it as a leash.
Yeah, that's
right.
So you're actually giving away the game. You are surrendering right from the start if you have to have the relationship. So if there's codependency going on, if there's anything like that, a dependency, you have to be able to get yourself into a position where you are independent as much as you can possibly be, and be ready to face being more independent and away from this relationship, whatever that relationship is, right? So you can't have those as your goals. Otherwise, you will not be able to get through this. So, and then you got to make your preparations then, right? Be ready for the relationship to end, right? So come into the situation as prepared as you can be. If it surprises you, you got to, and often it does, it's life, right? You can't be prepared for everything. Just bring your best game, be aware, collect yourself, and bring your best self to the game that you can, and don't judge yourself if it's not going well, right? Even if you're getting mad, don't judge yourself. Even if you're misbehaving, don't judge yourself. It's what's most important is to be as good as you can, be as good a person as you can, right? Be as compassionate as you can, be as respectful as you can. You're going to probably cross boundaries. It happens, right? We're people. We make mistakes all the time. And these things, who teaches us how to end a relationship in a healthy way, right? Where is that taught? Anywhere. Anywhere, right? That life doesn't prepare us well for that, right? So
they more like teach you how to keep the relationship, right? And then subconsciously we learn that we have to keep all the relationship, because that's the only thing that we learn. Keep the relationship, be nice to others, and apologize to say I'm sorry, and those kind of things always, right? So if you're doing the other way, that's bad, right?
Sorry, what's the other way?
Not trying to. If you're not trying to keep the relationship, then that's a bad thing.
That's what you're taught.
Yeah,
that's what we're taught. If you are behaving in a way that could lead to the end of a relationship, no matter what that behavior is, we tend to learn that that's a bad thing. Without
being directly taught, right?
not being, we're not, nobody sits us down with that, but we learn from context.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's why we feel bad if we are letting go of the being ready for the ending this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You feel bad subconsciously. That's a bad thing, right? I'm a bad person. Those kind of things. No, you need to let go of that attachment. Be as an individual. You are individual. I'm an individual, and we came to this life, and we are spending time together. But this it's getting a little messy here. So let's become individual again and see what happens. Reset, right? Start from blank sheet maybe, and then see what happens, right? So yeah, it's big, right? And to be ready for relationship to end, right? Nobody wants it. That's why you keep in a relationship. But that's why we are stuck in an unhealthy relationship, right? So yeah, to improve that, you have to step back and start from, in a way, scratch. Is be ready for that to end. Yeah,
and the scenario we're kind of painting out here is one where you can see it coming to some degree, right? So you've had some kind of interactions before that you have not you realize in some way you don't want them to continue. You may not fully realize that you're taking things personally. You may not fully realize that the other person is bullying you. You just know that you feel bad, right? And you don't like it anymore. You don't like the situation. So you're getting ready in some fashion but think it through as best you can. Try to take it apart. Talk with somebody else if you can. Reach out to us. We're here. We can help you with that kind of stuff. Figure it out. So that's and then going along with that, if you're coming to another interaction with that person and you're making these preparations, you know something's coming, right? In that situation, you're going to be filled with anxiety. It's going to be overwhelming practically, that you're going to be have a really hard time being your best. So it's just the way it is. If you can see it coming and you've been being bullied for some time and you're putting an end to it, you will be filled with anxiety. I don't think that there's a way to avoid it. I don't. I've been there. And you just got to be willing to do your best and to make a stand and to do what you feel is right, and to see it through. Be as kind as you can, but don't worry about the details. It's probably going to be messy to some degree, and
I should have laughed.
Yeah, in the end, it's okay. Right, we're, like I said, we're human, right? So you got to cut yourself a break and not judge yourself or the other person, right? The other person, they're doing what they think is right. They really believe it. In most cases. Yeah,
and then like if that relationship, right? If you and the other person are meant to be together, will come back. If you end it now. Temporarily, they will come around, and then
if it is a real, if there's something real in that relationship, they will come back in a different way. Right. They won't be looking to bully you, right? Or they might try to come back and they still want to bully. You still have to set those boundaries, right? That happens a lot. So because we're in relationships, maybe it's a relative, and it's not easy to cut it off, right? They're going to be around in your life in some way. Those are tough. Those ones where you have to keep working with them, and you have to keep working with yourself through the whole thing. You can improve your game over
level
time.
up, go the level 1's done, level 2, level 3. It goes up, and then you learn better skills.
You made your stand at some point, and things took a different course now, and you're setting boundaries, and maybe they violated your boundary again some other later time. You got to make another stand, right? And then you learn, or they try a different angle, right? So you learn over time, you get better and better. And so that's just the way those things are. You have to regard them as an opportunity to learn and to become a stronger, healthier person in being able to deal with that kind of stuff. So when you are dealing with it, the key is to stay as much as you can coming from a place of love and compassion, right? You can read that either way: love, compassion. The other person is sharing their pain, right? They're angry. They're sad, maybe at some point, or whatever the case may be. That's their pain coming through, and they're trying to share it with you. In other words, they're trying to get you to take ownership of it in some way, trying to bring you in, and then try to manipulate you again with their bullying. Don't buy it, right? They're just trying to share their pain, to see it for what it is. If it's anger, sadness, whatever the case may be, that's their choice, right? And it's their responsibility.
Yeah, whether they are aware or not, right? Some people are aware of their pain, some people are not, right? But they're sharing their pain. Why they're doing that is, if you have pain, they feel better. Because this guy has more pain than me, right? And then I'm okay.
Well, what they're actually doing as well is they're dumping it on you, right? They're dumping their pain on you because they don't know how to deal with it. That's what happens in many cases. They're not aware even that they're in pain, and they are pushing it onto other people. And that's what humans, we just share, right? We whether we're happy, we're sharing. Whether we're sad, we're sharing. Whether we're angry, we're sharing. And so if people are in those negative spaces, they're gonna share, and they want you to take it on, and so that they don't have to carry that load.
Yeah, I think they're still carrying it. It doesn't disappear from them. So that's why I'm saying.
Well, they can get your energy. If they're bullying you, they get energy from it.
Yeah, that's because we just have different way of looking at. They can witness somebody in pain. So okay, I'm not that miserable. I'm not that, right. That's one way that they look at. Oh, he's in pain. Yay.
Yes, that's going on, but there is something else too. We can get into another episode. That they do get energy from you when you give in to them.
That's different.
When they get their way, and through bullying, they're trying to get their way. That they're manipulating you to get your energy, and that's how they're feeding off of you. Right, and that's why you feel bad afterwards. That's why an abusive relationship is a bad idea for the person who's being abused, because their energy is being drained. That's what happens. So, here's what in order to deal with that bullying, you have to say no and mean it. It's like we said earlier. The first time you do this, there's a good chance that you might be talked into in some way giving in to in some fashion, because they'll come at you from different angles and can try to keep the manipulation going. You have to be able to adapt and not beat yourself up when you find yourself back in that being manipulated and bullied, right? And you realize, oh my God, I tried to stand up to them. It didn't work, right? Don't judge yourself. Don't feel bad about it. If you possibly can, just learn from it, adapt, and then stand up again, right? That's how we learn in life, is by falling on our face, right? That's the only way we learn how to walk, is by falling down, right?
I guess all what we were talking about, if it's physical abuse is happening, it's hard, right?
Yeah, well, that's it's time to bring in the authorities, right? When that you need some kind of outside help when it's physical abuse, for sure. Yeah. So mostly what we're talking about is verbal and emotional, psychological abuse. Yeah. So if you're used to saying nothing, so this is what we mean by saying no, right? So if you're used to saying nothing, speak up, right? If you're used to taking it personally, don't, right? If you're used to giving in, and for the personally part, see our last episode. If you're used to giving in, it's time to be honest with yourself, right? You gotta. It's time, right? It's so. The time for denials is in the past. If you're used to going with what's easier, it's time to take the hard road, right? So those are just examples, and there's all kinds of other situations, right? But you kind of get the idea. Basically, you got to call out bad behavior for what it is, right? When someone is doing stuff, you can tell them safely that it's not respectful, right? So it's not that. It might be a generally good relationship, but they might just be crossing the line, right? And not listening and not leaving space for your point of view in any way, cutting in and all that kind of stuff. It shows disrespect, and you can call it out, right? Say that it's not respectful, and that that your stand is that if that person wants to relate to you, keep talking to you, they've got to be respectful, and that tell them where it's gone wrong, right?
Yeah, they lots of times they wouldn't take it. They might get mad.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And but like you somewhere there, say no and you mean it, right? Just because they get mad and they don't want that boundary, right? They want to be free crossing over and take ownership of you, right? And so they don't want that boundary, so they get upset, they get mad. But that's why you need that boundary. So that's why you have to say no. Just keep saying no, and this is the boundary, right? And call out bad behavior. They might not take it. They might get even more angry, but still, you just have to keep doing that, right? Otherwise, them being mad, it's a manipulating skill that they have, right? They're trying to control you with fear. So that's a sign that they're still in control.
Yeah.
Right. So
bullies know how to measure it out, right? They'll show you a little bit of anger to give you that warning, right? And then when you do something that they don't like, they'll hit you with more anger. And that's what they train people around them to expect that, and to train them to think that it's their fault that they get angry like that they had to pull out the big guns, right? That's just pure manipulation. It's not right, and it has to be called out. And you can't be on the other end of that kind of relationship. It doesn't work. There's no way it can possibly work. And you can make it clear what's acceptable and what isn't, right? In other words, it's acceptable if it's coming from love, if it's respectful. If it's not, then it's not acceptable, and give them examples, right? For call out for that in that situation as appropriate, and make it clear what's going to happen if the boundary isn't respected, right? So what are the consequences to them, right? They're going to feel a consequence right away. They're going to feel control. They're losing control. They are going to be so aware of that, you will not believe. It's like a nanosecond, they will know, right? And that's why they're going to respond with that anger, right? To try to
fear
manipulate you.
of losing control.
Yes, yeah. You making that stand, you're gonna, part of that is you make it clear in some fashion what the outcome is of them not changing their behavior. And that's where we come back to the beginning, what you had to be prepared for. It's not necessary for you to end up making a point, because they may not let you, right? They're probably not there to listen if they're the bully, right? You can't have, your objective cannot be to have a nice, comfortable outcome in that conversation, in that interaction. It's going to probably end up ending raw, and you've got to be ready for the relationship to take a different direction, so that there's less connection between you in some fashion, whether that's all the way or whether that's part way, whatever is appropriate.
I'm not coming to the dinner anymore, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So let them know what it is that will happen unless the bullying stops, right? And you got to mean it in the end, right?
Yeah, you have to follow through.
You have to follow through.
You have to follow through. Once you say it, you have to be ready to do it, and you have to do it. It's, if you are not following through, then no, you are just what?
You're undermining everything that you're trying to do, all this good work.
And then they know it, that you're not going to do it, right?
Yeah.
It's like one example, kids, when they're little, they fight in the car. If you're parents, you probably had that kind of thing. They just fight like crazy, and they are side by side and going like this, and I don't like it. Right? Not so many parents like it, and that's right there, and they're fighting, and so I was like, you gotta stop fighting. Okay? If you don't stop fighting, I'm gonna take you out, and you have to walk. You have to walk home, right? When I said that many times, when I said that, I was really ready to take them out and let them. They were like a 2, 3, 4, whatever. And then, but I was responsible. I knew I was responsible for my words. So I was thinking. I didn't say that. I thought of it to say that. Am I ready to say that? Right? Fighting happened a few times, and I was like, I want to kick them out, but am I ready to kick them out? And now make them walk home, right? And that would be me driving beside them, because I like 2 years old from like the other side of town. I wouldn't let them just walk home for a couple hours. They don't know how to get home, right? So I have to be ready to follow them on the street, and
or park the car and walk with them.
If I'm walking like that, no. So I'm behind them and just following, right? Not walking with them. No, I wasn't gonna walk with them. So I had to be ready, and I said, I'm ready to do it. I'm gonna tell them, right? So I told them, and then they believe me, because when I say it, they know I mean it, right? So I said it. I was ready to kick them out. That never happened.
That's only because that happened for you, because you are.
I always very good. Follow through.
You are very good. You only say what you mean.
If
you say it once.
Yeah.
That is, it's done. You mean it.
Yeah.
And most people aren't as disciplined about that. It's healthy to cultivate that discipline. Yeah. But yeah.
Because like kids, especially kids, like dad just saying that, right? Mom just saying that.
Mm-hmm.
They know you are trying to control by fear,
Mm-hmm.
right? They see through and then
Mm-hmm.
they don't listen,
Mm-hmm.
right? But yeah, so you have, when if you say it, you have to really mean it. Otherwise, they see it through so clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so mean it and
Mm-hmm.
do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, let's see, where are we here? Yeah, making it clear what's acceptable, what will happen if it's not respected, and then remember compassion. Like we said earlier, remember to, as best you can, to stay in compassion and staying coming from a place of love yourself. You're, like we said, it's probably going to be a mess. You're probably going to be full of anxiety. At the same time, you're doing your best to come from compassion. It's a very difficult. That's a very difficult and tall order. If you're not coming from compassion, it's okay, right? The most important thing is to stick to your guns and stay with your decision.
Yeah.
To respect yourself.
Yeah. Don't judge yourself.
Yeah. To not put up with the bullying. That's the number one thing. If you're upset and yelling and screaming and all that kind of stuff, that happens, and forgive yourself, right? Because it was an unhealthy situation, right? You gotta do that. But as best you can, do stay in a place of compassion. The other person doesn't understand. If you're the one who's changing the relationship, they don't get it. They don't get it.
They would be mad.
Yeah.
Because they want to keep the
That's the type of relationship they like.
Yeah.
They like they like manipulating. They like not respecting other people's boundaries. That's just the way they like to operate. And it's not healthy for the people around them. It's not your job to have that other person learn that lesson, right? Other than by voting with your feet, right? You voting with your feet sends a message to them. If they get it at some point in their life, that's great. But in the moment they are not going to get it. They just don't, right? So let them do what they do. Forgive them. They don't get it. Then as well, invite them to relate to you with respect. At some point, whether that's early in the conversation or long after, right? After the dust is settled, you can still invite them to relate to you, but that has to be on a respectful basis, right? As soon as that boundary is crossed, you have to mean it. You can't slip back into the old stuff. You have to stick to your guns. And like if it's an intimate relationship, that gets very complicated because you get very close, right? And there's that manipulation. It seems great, right? Because you're getting something out of it too, right? And it seems great, but there's this other side, right? This other side, if it's bullying, you cannot. It spoils that bad apple spoils the whole barrel, right? You can't be in that relationship, that intimate relationship with somebody, and have them bully you. It doesn't work. So don't be tempted to get drawn back in. Keep the boundary as best and keep it solid, right? And just respect yourself. You always have to be coming from a place of self-respect. Yeah. So that's what we're going to cover today. And next week we're going to cover gaslighting. I think I think that's the subject for next one. We're going to continue on this bullying. And so tune in next week on Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern. We'd love to see you again, and we'll continue the conversation. And like, subscribe, share. We love having you here, and we'll see you next week on Aether. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.